dealing with this car. Again, I thought we had it figured out, but I'm gonna do whatever I can as a driver, and I know my team's gonna do whatever they...
Lizzy Musi became the first woman to win 3 No Prep Kings races in a row. She broke records, collected over $300,000 in prize money, and made history in a sport that tried everything to keep women out. But in April 2023, during what should have been her biggest season, she noticed flu-like symptoms that would not go away. What the doctors told her next changed everything. By November, even after treatments, the news got worse. And the person who promised to stand by her, they walked away when she needed the most. This is the story racing fans were not ready for. Lizzy Musi was born Elizabeth Patricia Musi on January 1, 1991 in Carteret, New Jersey. And from the very start, her life was surrounded by racing noise, oil stains, and long nights in a garage that felt more like a second home. Her father, Pat Musi, was already a legend, a drag racer and engine builder with 7 Street World championships to his name. Someone top NH professionals trusted with their engines. Her mother, also named Elizabeth, gave Lizzy her own name. And Lizzy later said that alone made her feel like she was carrying strength and legacy from the day she was born. They lived a modest middle-class life. Nothing flashy, but racing filled every corner of the house. Engine parts sat where furniture should have been. Music, the garage was always alive. As a little girl, Lizzy played with toy cars on the floor while her dad tested screaming motors nearby, copying gear shifts with her hands before she even understood what they meant. Without realizing it, her future was being written in grease and oil. When Lizzy was just 5 years old, her parents took her to her first real drag race at Englishtown's Old Bridge Township Raceway Park. The moment stayed with her forever. The ground shook, engines thundered, the smell of burning rubber filled the air. Instead of fear, she felt excitement. She later called it her first love. She stood near the starting line, eyes wide, music, watching cars explode forward in seconds. After that day, she begged to come, music, back every weekend. By the time she was 10, family vacations were built around racetracks, not beaches. She grew up hearing stories about legends like John Force and listening to adults talk about near-fatal blowouts as if they were normal parts of life. Racing did not scare her. It pulled her in deeper. At home, Lizzy grew up alongside her younger sister, Patricia, who would later race, too. But the strongest bond was always with her father. When Lizzy was 8, Pat started teaching music. Her basic wrenching and car maintenance. Family dinners slowly turned into conversations about tuning, setups, music, and race strategy. The garage became her classroom. Her father's stories about wins and disasters taught her respect for the danger that came with speed. That mindset showed up early. In school, music, essays, Lizzy wrote about outrunning boys in a sport dominated by men, long before she ever had the chance to prove it. Everything changed in 2007. At 16, Lizzy entered the NH Junior Drag Racing League after begging her father for a junior dragster. It was a small but violent machine powered by a 600 cubic centimeters bike engine. And her first race took place at ATCO Dragway in New Jersey. That day she shocked everyone. She ran a 7.89 second pass and won. The only girl in the field. She was not nervous. She was not careful. She was fearless. That single run turned her into a local legend. Almost overnight, and made one thing clear. She belonged here. That year, she competed in 20 junior events and won 15 of them, pushing her personal best down to 7.21 seconds at 85 miles per hour. But racing also showed its darker side. At Island Dragway, her engine seized mid-run, and the car burst into flames. People watched in music silence as she climbed out unharmed, but shaken. The fear stayed with her, but it did not stop her. She came back. That was the year Lizzy learned that speed meant nothing without resilience. During the week, she was still a regular student at Carter High School, balancing homework with race weekends. She skipped her senior prom to chase a regional title, and came home late with grease on her nails and a trophy in her hands. Classmates did not understand her. Some mocked her. It did not matter. She knew what she wanted. Her father also made sure she understood how brutal the sport could be, sharing stories of fatal crashes and close calls. He built her junior dragster himself, but he never let her forget that survival mattered just as much as winning. In 2009, Lizzy ended her junior career as the national junior sportsman runner-up and earned $5,000. Instead of celebrating, she bought her first set of slicks. It was a quiet statement. She was no longer playing. Around the same time, her sister Patricia wrecked her own junior dragster during a sibling rivalry race. Instead of fighting, they stayed music up late together, fixing cars, laughing through grease and exhaustion. Racing, music strengthened their bond. Lizzy graduated high school in 2009 with honors in auto mechanics. College was never the plan. Her family moved south to North Carolina, and she went straight to work at Pat Musi Racing Engines in Mooresville. She started at the bottom, working 12-hour shifts, mopping oil soaked floors and cleaning parts for $10 an hour. In her first week, she stunned everyone by diagnosing a faulty fuel injector on a ProMod engine that seasoned mechanics had missed. By the end of her first year, she was rebuilding complex engines on her own. People stopped seeing her as Pat's daughter. They saw her as a mechanic. In 2010, she rebuilt a 1,000 horsepower Hemi engine that powered a client to victory at Bristol Dragway. Her name was added to the build sheet, something almost unheard of for a young woman in the sport. Veterans started calling her Mini Pat, and this time it was respect, not mockery. That same year, she helped assemble her transition car, a Dodge Stratus known as King Kong 5. It carried a 9003 engine with 5-stage nitrous injection and produced around 3,000 horsepower. Lizzy tuned it to a brutal 3.92 pass. The walls shook during testing. This was no longer training. This was real sexism. followed her everywhere. Some mechanics dismissed her music as daddy's girl. One of them learned the hard way when Lizzy solo-tuned King Kong 5 to a sub-4 SE. Second on run. After that, the jokes. Music stopped. Lizzy saved $20,000 from her shop work to fund her racing license. She spent late nights driving alone on back roads, learning control and nerve the hard way. By the time she music officially raced, she had hundreds of hours behind the wheel. Her professional debut came in January 2011 at Orlando Speed World in the top sportsman class. She qualified 8th with a 3.95-second run, music, and made it to the semifinals before a transmission failure ended her day. That season, she raced 15 events, won 8 rounds, and music hit 3.82 seconds at 198 miles per hour. People started paying attention. Then came June 2012, music at South Georgia Motorsports Park. At 180 miles per hour, her car shook violently and spun sideways. She nearly came out of the cockpit. The video spread everywhere. She walked away with minor injuries and came back anyway. In 2013, she faced a music cockpit fire at Rockingham Dragway after an engine backfire. She shut the car down in just over 1 second and climbed out with singed eyebrows. The next day, she raced again. By mid-2013, she was third in the PDR Pro Nitrous standings, beating veterans by thousandths of a second, and earning $15,000 in her first major endorsement. She turned down modeling offers, saying speed was her beauty. Racing was the only thing that mattered. In 2014, everything changed. She qualified second at Rockingham with a 3.79-second run and then made history at Virginia Motorsports Park by becoming the first woman to win a Pro Nitrous final. She beat 12 men to do it. That same music weekend, she broke the 200 mph barrier, clocking 200.48 mph. At just 5 feet 3 inches, she controlled a 2,500 lb machine with absolute focus. In 2015, Lizzy Musi came back to defend her PDR title like she had something to music prove. She stacked up 4 big wins that year, including a wild race at Virginia Motorsports Park, where she handed Jason Harris his first loss of the season, and music snapped his undefeated streak. It felt like she was on top of the world. But drag racing has a way of turning glory into terror in a heartbeat. At the ADRL US Drags in Bristol, she launched with a blistering 3.75-second music pass. Only a few hundred feet into the run, the car snapped out of control, hit the air wrong, and started flipping end over end. It tumbled for nearly 200 feet before finally coming to a stop. Twisted and broken. People in the stands thought they were watching a fatal crash. Then, Lizzy climbed out with only bruises. Later, she explained that it all came down to a small suspension tweak that went bad at that kind, music, of speed. That wreck did more than scare everyone. It showed how thin the line is between victory and disaster and how calm she could stay when everything went wrong. That same season, her stats told another story. Lizzy was ranked third on the all-time low qualifier list, Not because of one lucky weekend, but because she kept running quick and clean. In 2015, she laid down multiple 3.70-second passes, music, including a jaw-dropping 3.72 at 205 miles per hour. One of those hits put so much force through her Dodge Dart that it actually bent the chassis. The frame was hurt so badly, music, that her family had to tear the car apart and rebuild it in the middle of the season. They pulled long nights under, music, floodlights in their own shop just to keep her in the game. That grind with tools clanking past midnight and the smell of fuel soaked into music. Everything became part of what people remembered about her. It was not just her talent at the wheel. It was the way her team could literally rebuild a race car around her and send her back out. Between 2016 and 2017, she kept showing up in big moments. She reached 3 more PDR finals and set a personal best of 3.68 music seconds at Virginia. Yet, the most important decision she made in that stretch came when she walked away from a major event. During inspection, they found a hairline crack in the chassis. It was the kind of flaw that might hold at low speeds but could rip apart at more than 200 miles per hour, music. Lizzy knew exactly what that meant. She chose to withdraw. Fans were shocked at first, but racers understood. That choice was courage in a different form. A reminder that she respected the danger enough to step back when the risk crossed the line. In October 2018, she went back to Bristol and turned the same place that had nearly killed her into the site of her greatest single run. She clocked 209.23 mph in Pro Nitrous, a record that still stands. The wind was howling across the track that day. Crosswinds shoved her car about 2 feet toward the wall while she was still under power, and anyone watching could see how close she was to losing it. Somehow she held it straight, finished the run, and walked away with a number that stamped her name into the record books. Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates just like this.